In the Poconos region of Pennsylvania, nestled in the hills just west of downtown Milford, is a substantial chateau-like mansion that was erected in 1886. Called Gray Towers, it's preserved today as a National Historic Site. Gray Towers is notable architecturally as an example of the work of Richard Morris Hunt, renowned architect of America's Gilded Age. It's notable historically as the former summer residence of the Pinchot family. This included Gifford Pinchot, the first head of the United States Forest Service, who also served twice as governor of Pennsylvania. He shared the home with his wife, Cornelia Bryce Pinchot, a progressive politician and activist. Hi, this is History with me, Dan Sterner. If you love historic buildings, please subscribe to this channel as we explore the historic Gray Towers. Gray Towers was built for James Pinchot. James's father and grandfather had emigrated to the United States from France at the end of the Napoleonic Wars. They settled in Milford, PA, where they operated a highly successful dry goods business. Young James sought to build his own fortune in New York City, where he settled in 1850. Over the next quarter century, he worked as a merchant in the city, becoming very wealthy as an importer and then as a manufacturer of fine wallpaper and window shades. Able to retire in 1875 at the age of 44, James could then focus on philanthropy. Socially prominent and a significant patron of the arts, his friends included many of the major artistic and literary figures of the time. In 1864, he married Mary Jane Eno, whose father, Amos Eno, was one of the wealthiest men in New York, owning a great deal of real estate in Manhattan. Their son Gifford, the second of their 3 children to survive to adulthood, was born in 1865 in his maternal grandfather's summer home, a residence built in 1820 in Simsbury, Connecticut. In the mid-1880s, James Pinchot hired architect Richard Morris Hunt, a close family friend, to design a mansion in Milford that would be the Pinchot's summer retreat. Hunt, who had great knowledge of French historical architectural styles, based the design of Gray Towers on late medieval chateaux of the 15th century. He designed a 3-story stone building with prominent conical towers at 3 of its corners. A servant's wing extended from the other northwest corner. I'll take you on a tour of the house and grounds later in this video, but first I'll talk a bit more about the Pinchot family. Early photos of Gray Towers reveal a more barren landscape because the trees had been clear-cut for lumber. James's father, in addition to being a merchant, had made a great deal of money in the lumber business. With the building of Gray Towers, James Pinchot began the reforesting of the grounds. Alarmed by the despoiling of the country's natural resources that was going on at the time, he became an ardent conservationist and encouraged his son Gifford to pursue a career in forestry. Since there was no school of forestry yet in the United States, Gifford learned the profession in Europe. His father James, who died in 1908, financed the creation of the Yale University School of Forestry in 1900 and began hosting the school's summer camp at Gray Towers. Gifford became the first chief of the U.S. Forest Service under the presidency of his friend Theodore Roosevelt. After being dismissed from office after a falling out with new President William Howard Taft, Gifford Pinchot focused on politics, helping to form Roosevelt's Progressive or Bull Moose Party, together with his younger brother Amos, who was an active social reformer and a co-founder of the American Civil Liberties Union. Gifford Pinchot eventually served as governor of Pennsylvania from 1923 to 27 and again from 1931 to 35. In 1914, 49-year-old Gifford married Cornelia Bryce, a social reformer and women's rights activist who shared his progressive philosophy. The couple continued to use Grey Towers as a frequent retreat, eventually coming to live there year-round in their later years. In the 1920s, Cornelia began making alterations to the interior of the house, which I'll describe shortly. Gifford died in 1946, and after Cornelia's death in 1960, their son, Gifford Bryce Pinchot, donated Grey Towers to the Forest Service, as the family had intended. After being used as a conference center for many decades, a quarter-century ago the house and grounds were restored to reflect their appearance during the period Gifford and Cornelia utilized the estate. Let's take a tour of the Grey Towers house and grounds, and if you haven't done so yet, remember to subscribe to the channel. Today, the estate, which once provided an unobstructed view of Milford and the Delaware River, is much more wooded. The property's current appearance reflects the tastes of Gifford and Cornelia Pinchot in the early 20th century, rather than the original 19th century Victorian landscaping from the time it was built. The long east side of the house features a row of French doors. Above them is a central niche with a bust of Lafayette, a nod to the family's French origins. Grey Tower's upper floors are still used as meeting spaces, so we'll focus on the ground floor, which is restored as a museum, and then we'll move on to some of the immediately adjoining outdoor spaces. The main entrance is on the south side of the building. Visitors to the house reach the large front door by a flight of steps. This door leads into a large space filled with antiques called the Great Hall. On the west side of the hall are the main stairs and a niche with a fireplace. In the original arrangement of the house, there were two smaller parlors just off the hall to the east. One was a billiard room, and the other was called the salon. After her marriage to Gifford, Cornelia Pinchot wanted to modernize the house from its typical late 19th century arrangement to make it more suitable for the couple's extensive entertaining. She had the partition between the billiard room and salon removed to create a new library room in the enlarged space. In the library is a painting by the French artist Alexandre Cabanel, commissioned by Gifford's father James, an avid patron of the arts. It depicts his wife Mary and two of their children, Antoinette and Gifford, in 15th century Florentine costume. Connected to the library, in the ground level of the mansion's southeast tower, is a circular space Gifford Pinchot used as his office starting in the early 20th century. As with the library, Cornelia Pinchot also combined two other rooms, the original library and the dining room, to create a much bigger space on the north side of the house. These rooms were once separated by a wall containing a fireplace for each room. The wall was removed, leading to some issues with the space's structural support, and the fireplace was relocated to the north side of the enlarged room. On the south side of the room is a painting of a naval battle affixed to the wall like a mural, which Cornelia brought back from Europe. Although the creation of this space represented an enlargement of the original dining room, the family used it as more of a sitting room, preferring to dine with their many guests just outside. Visitors would head to the outdoor dining space across a mosaic terrace called the Marble Court because it was originally paved with marble. In the center of this terrace is a stone etching of the Mary Pinchot, Gifford's schooner. In 1929, this ship went on a 9-month zoological expedition to the South Seas led by Pinchot, who was accompanied by his wife and son. The Marble Court also features a blue pool, which hints at what guests will find in the outdoor dining area, which was added in 1934. Located under a large pergola festooned with wisteria vines, it's called the Finger Bowl and has a raised pool that functioned as a dining room table. Food was served on platters that could be floated across the water to the dinner guests. Over the years, there were many lively discussions here of politics, social issues, and of course, conservation. Just east of the finger bowl is a small courtyard. On one side is a small building built in the 1920s called the Letterbox. It once housed Gifford Pinchot's clerical staff and served as his political campaign office. Today it's the historic site's gift shop. Also dating to the 1920s is the Long Garden, which stretches northward towards a building called the Bait Box, a name which relates to the family's love of fishing. The garden is dominated by a long, narrow pool that suggests a corridor leading to the bait box, a masonry structure built to be a playhouse for Gifford and Cornelia's son. At one time, there was a blacksmith shop in the basement where young Gifford B. Pinchot made iron objects, some of which can be found around the estate today. The estate may have been changed and restored over the years, but Grey Towers still displays the Pinchot family's artistic and stylistic tastes and their political activism. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and remember to subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other videos about historic buildings and landscapes, and thanks for watching.